Welcome back to EMS1 News. Ed Bauter and Dan Schwester from the Overrun here today. We're going to talk about this article that was written on July 31st on EMS1. 16 EMS groups published joint statement on EMS performance metrics. This is written by Sarah Roebuck, and it's an important story because these ambulance organizations, involves the American Ambulance Association, the American College of Emergency Physicians, the Center for Patient Safety, the American Paramedic Association, International Association of EMS Chiefs, National Association of EMS Physicians, National Association of State EMS Officials, and they're all looking to talk about different metrics for EMS performance. And this article is really, really important. This is something that we've been talking about for years here on the Overrun. They're looking to change the key performance indicators, the KPIs, to things that are effective, safe, satisfying, equitable, and efficient. So, Danny, when we've talked about how response models are kind of done in this system and in this country, we've kind of looked at response times as the principal indicator for all this. And it looks like we're kind of getting away from that at this moment.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think this is a STEM change in EMS. Ed, we're looking at a completely different way to measure how we get to calls and what we do when we get to calls. We're getting away from the first on the scene, rapid transport, response time means everything, and going deep down and looking at really what matters in an EMS system. I think it's really interesting in this paper that you got a whole bunch of disparate organizations with different ideas and different agendas, and they all agree on this. And this is something, again, this has been in the background for almost 10 years, right? I can remember our first episode on the Overrun, we actually talked about red lights and sirens on calls. And should we be doing it? When should we use it? Should we apply it as a intervention or as we would an intervention, not just randomly going lights and sirens to everything because that's what we've always done. I think this paper has really taken all of that science and basically combined it together. And it's a really powerful document. I think everybody in EMS, whether you're a brand new EMT, seasoned paramedic, chief, leader, whatever, gotta listen to this and gotta read this story.
And this comes off the heels of, like you said, around a decade of data that shows that EMS response times just don't improve outcomes. And this is one of the things that's a statement in the joint statement from Dr. Doug Koppas. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, who wrote this principal author of the paper. Historically, response time performance has been the primary measure used to assess the quality of an EMS system. However, response times have not generally been associated with improved patient outcomes in the growing body of EMS evidence and research. And the reliance on response time performance prevents communities from evaluating other EMS systems quality measures that have greater significance for patient care and outcomes. Essentially, what they're saying in this is that just turning on your lights and sirens and going to the call as an independent factor doesn't improve outcomes. So are we using lights because that's just what we do, or are we using lights because it actually improves the patient outcome? We know that the extant data says that using red lights and sirens does not improve outcomes. It barely even improves response time, somewhere between 30 and 90 seconds, depending on the body of data you're looking at. And oftentimes that time is lost because you have to get out of the truck and gather your equipment and go into the scene. So there's this idea, I think, that red lights and sirens are sort of this magic carpet that get you to the scene faster, but that just hasn't borne out in the data.
Right. And it's important to remember, when you turn on those red lights and sirens and you're driving to the call or you're driving to the hospital with a patient that you believe is sick, you've really increased the risk. The chances of a collision go up dramatically. Some say as much as 60% when those red lights and sirens go on. And when those collisions occur, bad things happen because patients get hurt, we get providers getting hurt, we get civilians getting hurt. When the emergency is basically over, if we consider ourselves emergency medicine clinicians and we really think that once we get there, the emergency's over, there's no need to be rushing to the hospital, unless it's a time-sensitive emergency that justifies that extra risk. We're almost looking at red lights and sirens as if like you're putting somebody in a helicopter. And where air medical transport, the benefit has to outweigh the risk. And there's a risk to crew, there's a risk to the patient whenever we do that. And this paper and this group of researchers who've really done a great job, and they've done their homework on this, really are kind of making people think that in the same vein, that if it's not a life-threatening emergency, if it's not something that's going to have a direct benefit for the patient, keep those red lights and sirens off.
And there's a couple authors on his that are friends of the show, which is, it's always nice to see. But again, this is not our opinion. It is our opinion, but we didn't publish this. This is the opinion of the people who are making the decisions. And it's very encouraging to see professional organizations start to realize, like, all right, maybe the safety and efficacy of our response is one of the more important things, and not so much how it looks as we respond. For EMS1 News, I'm Ed Bauter, and that's Dan Schwester. Be sure you check out more of our stuff on overrunproductions.com and check out the Overrun on YouTube, and we'll talk to you next time.
Take care.